Welcome to the Brand Telling Podcast, where we share secrets, systems, and strategies you can use to unleash the power of story to build and grow your brand. The Brand Telling Podcast is brought to you by the team at Brand Telling, a B2B brand storytelling agency. Now, please welcome your host, principal, and chief brand teller, Arthur Germain.
Every brand has twists and turns. As a founder or owner, you might find that you've expanded or narrowed your target audience. You might change your service or product offerings. Maybe you're representing a new set of vendors that you need to explain to your audience. Or you've taken on a new partner or expanded your footprint. But what happens when your brand takes a left turn? Welcome to the Brand Telling Podcast. I'm your host, Arthur Germain, and with me is my co-host, Asaf, the brand chef Bachman.
Hello, everybody.
Today, we're pleased to welcome two guests to the podcast, Tiffany Rivera and Pastor in Charge, Father James of the St. Paul's Episcopal Church here in Patchogue on Long Island. They're an unlikely pair of entrepreneurs who have gone through what Asaf and I describe as a left turn in the brand. Tiffany and Father James, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
So I want to start with, how did you two meet?
So we work closely together with Patchogue Young Professionals. And when I was looking for a location, we happened to both be at a ribbon cutting for the new Medford branch of the Patchogue Medford Library. And I was talking about doing weddings and looking for a new space. And I said to him, don't you have a hall too? And he said, yes. When would you like to come see it? And I was like, how about right now?
Perfect.
And we left the ribbon cutting and we came to see the space. And that was it. We made a decision in 24 hours.
So what was the name of the business at that point?
The Winston.
So it was already the Winston.
Yes.
But it just didn't have a home.
Correct. So I purchased the business in January of this year, and it is a rental hall. So we were able to hold parties for up to 50 people. We could hold weddings, we could hold bridal showers, birthday parties. And the woman that I bought it from, her and her sister started the business a couple of years beforehand because they had a need. They couldn't find anywhere to have affordable weddings. Her sister was getting married. There was nowhere that they felt like they wanted to have this wedding at. So they started the Winston.
And I feel that's probably how a lot of entrepreneurs start. There's a problem that they have, and they say, well, I'm going to solve this for me. And somebody says, well, that would solve a problem for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they need convincing.
Yeah.
That their solution would actually work
for other people. Exactly right.
Right. So they opened the Winston. The name is actually their dog.
Okay.
So people ask me all the time, where did I come up with the name? I did not come up with the name. It's their dog.
You can come up with a new story each time someone asks you.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
See what kind of resonate you get with the audience.
Yeah, so they wanted to have their dog at the wedding. The dog was there, Winston was there, and it was a beautiful, amazing, incredible wedding for them. So I bought the business from them. They have another weekend heavy business, so they were looking to transfer it over to someone that really loved the business, loved hospitality, loves customer service, and that was me. So when we needed to move, our building sold, so we had to move in June. And I was kind of scrambling for where we were going to go next. So in the same time, in the same week, I happened to be in the same space as Father James, and it just all worked out organically for me to move in here.
So you kept the name The Winston, and you've kind of renamed the space Father James has. Father, why don't you describe for everybody kind of the space and the church that you have here?
St. Paul's has been in Patchogue since 1843.
Just a couple of years then.
Yes, exactly. So we're celebrating our 180th anniversary year this year. And this is our second building, our second property. So our first one was actually on the west end of Patchogue, closer actually to our friend Benny Miggs, and by the Lakeview Cemeteries, which we are still partners with, as our earliest ancestral cemetery has guests that are eternally living there from 1790s on.
What was going on here before Tiffany approached you?
We're starting to go through this rebirth process, call it a baptism by fire, if you will. I got brought in by my bishop. I was actually supposed to go active duty with the military. I'm a Navy chaplain.
Okay.
And he said, James, if you could just do 2 years at St. Paul's and get your parish ministry like under your belt, and you've been ordained now a year and a half, 2 years, see if this works for you, and then I'll release you to go into the Navy where you are feeling called to. And I did not think I would fall in love with this ministry and this community as much as I have. When I first got here, this was a dormant building. We have a thrift shop that was doing about maybe $100 of business a day, and they were ecstatic. And so they really thought that once they hit those the triple digits, they were going through it, And then we had our food pantry, which was feeding less than 100 families on a weekly basis, but pre-bagged gifts to give out to the people the day before from our parish hall driveway that had just grown over time from 30 individuals to now, which has expanded up to this point. And then our partnership with the Patchogue Neighbors Soup Kitchen, which fed close to 50 individuals a week. My job was to come in and lay down gasoline, hold the match, threaten, and drop it. And I think that getting people inspired by new energizing activities. So our thrift shop now is doing close to $300 of business per day that they're open 3 days a week. Our food pantry now has doubled, and the days that they serve the community, we are up to 175 families on average that we feed each week. And that is in a new dedicated space that frees up our parish hall, to get back to your original part of the question, which traditionally just served as a coffee hour place on Sundays between services, and for our soup kitchen partnership, which was just using the kitchen up until a year and a half ago. Our new partnership with Rise Life Services, which is a special needs organization for young adults that have phased out of life skills programs in local high schools, come and do a day program here, and they're focused on volunteering.
Yeah.
So they actually staff our thrift shop, folding clothes. They staff our food pantry by putting materials on the shelves and going and getting those goods for us, so our volunteers don't have to break their backs and going back and forth as an older congregation. And lastly, staff our soup kitchen, which really brought us into partnership with Tiffany Rivera, which I'm sure we'll talk more about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for kind of going into the background there. Let's talk about the space itself for just a moment. How large is the space?
This space can hold up to 120 individuals.
Okay. And how large was the original Winston space?
That could hold 50 people. So when I first saw this space, it was mint green. Not my favorite.
I considered it vomit green, in my opinion.
But with being in events for so long, I knew what I was trying to build in the move, and it was going to cost me a lot of money to do that. So in June of last year and a little bit before that, I was really pitching to investors. I was pitching to financial people. I was trying to get the funds that I needed to renovate a brand new building that somebody else owned. And I didn't think it was a smart investment at some point. So I stopped looking for that. And coming here, I looked at the space and I was like, wow, I was about to throw a whole bunch of money into a space that didn't have a kitchen, that didn't hold as many people as I needed. And now here, they already had a kitchen and it was underutilized. They're using it, only a day a week.
And a parking lot.
And I have a parking lot and there's a chapel on premises. So it really all felt like a great option. The only thing that it needed was to be painted.
Yeah.
So that, and some decor.
For our audience, if you check in the description, there will be a link to the Winston so you can see some photos of what the location looks like. When you were at the old Winston, you're going to have to stop calling it that in a minute, but we were at the old Winston. Who was your audience there and who's your new audience here?
So at the old Winston, I was able to take every type of party. It didn't matter whether it was a bridal shower, a baby shower, wedding, business event, mom groups met there. I was open every single day. I was running myself ragged doing that, also running another business at the same time and momming full time. So that really, it was taking a toll on me. So when I came here, I have access to this building on Saturdays. There's no one here. And on Sunday nights after church is done, then the space is available as well. So I really decided to niche down to weddings mostly. I can take other occasions, but the weddings really create the most income for the church and for the missions that are here. So there's a fee associated with the reception hall. There's another fee associated with the chapel and another fee associated with also having the officiant on premises. So when I take a wedding versus a birthday party, now we can push the mission forward more and they can have more funds to feed families that need it.
So this is the pivot that Asaf and I were talking about. And this is the thing. In lots of brands, we find a pivot moment. Sometimes what we see is a brand takes on a new partner, and that can be a pivot. Sometimes it's a new location, a new product, a new service. Sometimes it's a new name, and the new name has a reason because they're serving a new group. In your case, you're keeping the Winston name, although now you're saying at the Churchill, which, let me tell you, it took me a while to figure out. Well, the Winston Churchill, I didn't. That's just because I'm not as clever as Asaf. I didn't figure that out right away. But that you're the Winston at the Churchill. And there's another term that you've been using. I wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Which
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is, I plan on the Winston having multiple locations. So this one is the Churchill location, and we are calling what we're doing here impactful weddings. So, you can get married at so many different places on Long Island, and they are happy to take your $40,000, $60,000, $100,000. I wanted to create a different option for millennials who pay for their own weddings, who don't have parents paying for their weddings anymore, people who have been together for a very long time, 10 years, 15 years, they have a house, they have kids, they just never got married. And those are like my favorite types of people. Anyone who's in a second life, those are my people. We vibe together. My bride the other day came in wearing an MTV shirt that I also own. So that was my favorite. So it's really going after the people who are looking for an affordable option. There was a study that just came out that said Long Island is the most expensive place in the country to get married, and at an average of $60,000 for a wedding.
Right.
So how many people can really pay for that out of pocket nowadays that are my age in, mid-30s?
Not many.
Right. It's not really an option. And my parents, they work full time. My partner's parents work full time. That's really not an option anymore, where parents used to be able to set you up with a wedding and then you keep all the gifts and now you have a down payment for a house. It's just become so out of control that people don't want to spend it. And it's not even when they have it. I have plenty of business owners who have it and could pay for a wedding cash, but don't want to spend it because they're more mindful about their money.
Sure.
So now when you come here, you can do a DIY type of wedding, super basic, affordable. The space is beautiful. You don't need to bring that much here.
Right.
Or you can hire my rental company to come in and hang drapery from the ceiling and bring in all types of floral and table settings and make it a bigger, fancier affair if you want to. But the mindfulness of the way that people spend money now, it's different. They don't want to spend money for one day that they could put into their business or they could put into their home or their kids.
Right.
If it's something that's impactful, they're happy to spend it. They don't mind. Their wedding here feeds people in the community.
And I think, so that leads to my next question. Are you in other locations? Are you going to be looking to continue doing weddings? So will you look at other houses of worship where you can do weddings, or are you going to look for other locations where you can do other types of events?
So my focus is going to be on nonprofits. I really want to create a revenue stream using underutilized spaces with nonprofits. There is a lot of community work that happens in this building, and it's a little bit difficult for churches to survive and keep the lights on When they have an aging population, they can't really go off of Sunday morning donations anymore. They have to get creative about it. So Father James allowing me to work out of this building creates a revenue stream for his church so he can just focus on his work. None of these churches or historical societies or libraries want to be event spaces, but they could use extra revenue. So I have this beautiful library down the block that I would love to do some, a few events there as well. And it doesn't always have to be weddings. It could be a business meeting. It could be a bridal shower at a different location too. So
Okay.
yes, we do plan on growing.
We'll be right back right after this quick message.
Hey there, if you're like most business owners or founders, you may find that after time, your brand has undergone some type of change. Maybe you've launched a new product, a new service, or a new location, or perhaps you've acquired some new talent or capability.
And now your team is struggling to communicate what makes your brand different and what sets you apart as the right choice.
And that's why Asaf and I have launched the Brand Building Bootcamp. It's a focused workshop where we reimagine, refresh, rebuild, and relaunch your entire brand.
We're essentially helping you become a category of one.
The Brand Building Bootcamp gives you a refreshed brand storybook, visual identity, magnetic website, and the tools for connecting your content with your audiences to increase your bottom line.
Arthur, don't forget, we're delivering all this in 30 days or less.
Yeah, no pressure.
Well, we're limiting the boot camp to only a few clients each month. So if you're interested, let us know.
Yeah, if this sounds interesting, you can learn more at thebrandbuildingbootcamp.com and schedule a no-obligation brand chat with me and Asaf.
And now, let's get back to our podcast.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we're back and we're talking to Tiffany Rivera. She is the owner and operator, the founder of the Winston, which is now operating from the Churchill, which is the St. Paul's Episcopal Church here in Patchogue. With us also is Father James, who is the pastor in charge here at the church. And I know that's a lot to think about. So if you just joined, roll back and listen a little bit. But I want to ask you, Father James, if you don't mind, do you consider yourself and the church a partner in Tiffany's business?
A business partner? I don't think so.
Right.
But a partner as in a shared equal opportunity associate? Yes. So when I introduce Tiffany to people in town when we're at joint meetings together, because we're part of Patchogue Young Professionals, we're part of groups like the Lions Club, the Chamber of Commerce, the Kiwanis Club, the Rotary Club, and we get to interact with people in our community. And people are hearing about what Tiffany's doing here at St. Paul's, financially saving us. I would call that a partnership. And so not necessarily a business partner, but we are definitely partners in this, that I had to go to my board of directors. Tiffany came in and spoke to our board of directors, our vestry, and gave her pitch on why this would be helpful and healthy for St. Paul's congregation, and that she was willing to take on the responsibility of helping renovate our hall and showing us like how this could be a fruitful partnership, to use that word. And I think that's really been how we engage together.
And if we rewind a little bit, when Tiffany approached you and talked to you about, her plans for the space and what she does, what almost stopped you from going and working with her?
Tiffany is wild, just like I am. And she's laughing silently in the corner so she doesn't get caught. But her fly-by-night operation scared my board of directors. And it's her fly-by-night operation that allowed the church, in a matter of weeks, to be completely transformed from a dormant hall, which was painted mint green, that really didn't have life to it. For her to have this vision that she could see past the mint green walls with no curtains and holes in it, to have a team of people that she didn't ask the church for 1 cent, she asked for a chance. And tying that into the Christian message of Jesus Christ, whom is my Lord and Savior, who asked just to have a chance to try and change the world, she's doing it right here on a local level in Patchogue. She scared the crud out of a lot of people and a lot of older ladies who said, we've never done it this way.
Right.
to have
That's
also
not uncommon in for-profit long-term organizations as well as nonprofit long-term organizations. We've never done it that way before. I believe the aforementioned Jesus was somebody who was doing something that nobody had ever done before also. And so, I think of him as an early entrepreneur in maybe in spirit. What's interesting in what we're talking about is that both you and Tiffany had an aligned vision that you had kind of a diamond in the rough, and maybe a little more in the rough than you intended, but a coat of paint and some cleanup and changes, and you had a real opportunity to do something. You mentioned the fly by night. I've always hated that phrase because I found it to be the phrase that people who are on the institutional side will use for the people who are on the entrepreneurial new vision side. They'll say, "Oh, it's fly by night," and you say that's because it's not yet established.
Mhm.
I try to, I think of that as flexible. So I
dare say creative.
it's creative, it's flexible, and
Time selective.
Yeah, time selective, right? That you're. One of the reasons I often tell people that I like audio podcasting is because they are flexible in that you can listen to them where you want, when you want, and whatever you're doing. They activity shift, they geo shift, and they time shift. So they're not locked into something. So so the people in terrestrial radio consider podcasting to be fly by night because it's not, it's not locked in. And that also gets me back to, because they're not locked into a place. The Winston started out as a place, and you're still using the name. So I'm kind of interested to know, why not choose a name that you can then overbrand any more of the things you do? For example, if it's Impactful Weddings or Impactful Events, you could say Impactful Events at the Churchill, Impactful Events at give the library name too.
How do you see the names interplaying in the future as you scale and get multiple locations you're running at once?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm pretty flexible with a lot of what we're doing. I like to say that I don't know what the future looks like, but I know it's going to be good and I'll figure it out.
Asaf has a crystal ball. He can tell you.
Nice. I need that. So, I am still married to the name. I still love it. I still I still really think that it sounds fancy. It sounds like that's where I want to get married.
But let me ask you something, right? So you're talking about these second time arounders, right? And you're talking about quality, affordable weddings. Do you feel they're looking for fancy?
That's a good point. Maybe not, but the price point is still low and you could still find a fancy, nice place and have an elegant event.
I was just going to jump in. I think there's a difference between fancy and classy.
And
I think what Tiffany does is classy.
Sure.
Because she has a barn theme here with barrels that look like they could hold rum if you're Captain Jack Sparrow sitting in my hall. And I had to convince my head of the thrift shop we could not sell it. It is 2 barrels, and she uses it in a theme along with the barn doors that she had hung up and the fireplace ambiance that we're going to have lit for the whole winter season. There is, I wouldn't call this place fancy, but I would call it classy.
Yeah,
and but Tiffany made the classiness happen. Mint green walls with holes in it, that didn't do it for me. But to have the classiness factor.
So along with bringing the classiness, what other challenges did the Winston bring and fix or solve for the church?
Well, as an Episcopal church, we hit our high point in the 1950s, and since then we've been on a slow decline, and as of 2003, 2005, as we became more open and on a more progressive stance from the 70s forward, especially endorsing LGBTQIA marriages and standing with our gay siblings, and also ordaining women to the priesthood. We have tended to take there's been a dynamic shift in the church where there's been a smaller attendance from where in 1950 St. Paul's had 3 services on a Sunday. Now we were down to 1. We've just grown back to have a second one in English and one in Spanish. due to the dynamics of Patchogue here. What I think is different now is that we don't have the number of donations that we got in the past. We used to have the religious tithe is from Scripture, 10% goes back to the church of everyone who is a pledging member from the community. With only 45, 50 people on a Sunday in the past, that was not obtainable for a church with a $230,000 operational budget. So what Tiffany's coming in here and fixing for us is a huge gap in our finances where we couldn't keep the lights on and we can't go to the bishop's office for help anymore.
Right.
This is a transformational, looking at the church as this is a tangible asset that Tiffany saw that we hadn't seen in the past. We did $600 last year in total for hall rental, $600. We're charging now, what was our figure was around $500 hall donation for one event going forward with the renovation that Tiffany did. We're going to make up in 2 parties what we did last year in donations to the hall.
Right.
It's a whole new model of thinking about it. I am not an entrepreneur. I am not I like to party, but I'm not somebody who likes to know the background of the party. That's Tiffany's area of expertise. And so she might be not somebody who goes to church on Sunday mornings, but she sees the benefit and the beauty of the church that can help others through our outreach capacities of the food pantry, thrift shop, and soup kitchen to allow us to do this.
So let me bring that back to the questions we were talking about, the brand and the brand name. For me, the brand is not the logo, the location. The brand is the promise. The brand is what have you promised your stakeholders? And I think of your stakeholders as being certainly your customers, but here are your partners, your suppliers. So you mentioned vendors that might come into the whole, and the community at large. So, what I would urge you to do is to really think about the promise you're making, because I think that will help you with the brand name. Because I hate to see you stuck in a brand name and then go, oh, where am I using this? So for example, the Winston may be another location. There may be a location that is just, fancy enough, right? That you go, this gets the Winston name, where this is the Churchill, and down the block, the library is, I
Let's
think
think
of
the
another.
famous what's the name of the library?
Carnegie.
Carnegie. I
Yeah.
love that.
Well, that could be the Carnegie. That'd be fantastic, right?
It is the Carnegie.
Yeah. So so it's even better. It's already there. And so what you'd be is, impactful weddings or impactful events or mindful events. You mentioned mindfulness before, something like that at the, at that location. I know you're tied into the Winston, somebody else's dog, but I do think, that it's certainly something worth considering. And it's always the most difficult thing I have. I tell people my company is now 19 years old. It started life as Communication Strategy Group. It's now called Brand Telling. There's a big difference between them because I adopted the thing that we did as the name for who we are. And so that was the shift for me.
Yeah. And I agree. And I think what basically we're saying is Impactful Weddings is a much better name.
It's much more
than the
impactful.
weddings. And it's not only impacting the people that are your customers, but it is impacting your partners as well, maybe even more so than the people who you're actually helping via the affordable wedding with the great spot that doesn't need to be booked a year in advance with a crazy $8,000 deposit, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, to tag on to what Asaf just said, and also I think Father James is very eloquent in the kind of impact you're having on the community. What is the experience that you want your customers to leave with?
I really want them to get back to what weddings were. In the 70s, weddings cost $700 and you did them in your parents' backyard. And it was a very small, intimate event. Now, weddings are totally insane, which I love watching.
Right.
I live, eat, breathe weddings, so I love seeing what everyone's doing. but it's definitely not something that I want to be a part of.
Right. You're not going to be doing impactful weddings at the Kardashian. I mean,
No. Listen, don't start with the Kardashians. That's my guilty pleasure. My daughter's name is Kylie. My dog's name is Chloe. I'll talk about the Kardashians all day.
I touched the wrong rail right there.
I would love to do a Kardashian wedding.
So
that'll be the one exception.
Okay, great.
But
so you could do impactful weddings at the Kardashian mansion.
Absolutely.
That would be where you go with something.
Absolutely. So, it is really great for me to be able to do these things here. The same way we talked about before, solving a problem. I want to get married and I don't have a place where I feel like I could, really have the type of wedding that I want with just my favorite people there, which is definitely not going to cross over 100 people at all. I am a millennial. I'm in my mid-30s, which sounds, I hate thinking about that. My younger siblings think that's hilarious. But I really, really don't have the options that other people had before.
And you're not alone.
Correct. So I have plenty of friends who want to get married and can't even think about the cost of it. They are so far away from having any savings, always living to paycheck that they can't even think about affording a wedding. It's so out of reach for them. And that's sad to me because I should be able to have the same opportunities that my parents had. But the way that the world is right now, we don't really have those options. So I wanted to make sure that we have something for those millennials, something for the people who are second life people. Right. I am in my second life. I have kids from a previous relationship. My partner does as well. We have a little Brady Bunch going. And I really feel like there are so many other people on Long Island that have that as well. They are just as in love as the people who spend $100,000 on their wedding. And we should have options for that too.
Yep. Father.
Just to jump in there, where I think that Tiffany really hits the nail on the head is that the church is also why makes this partnership. Let me rephrase. What I think that Tiffany's relationship with St. Paul's, the Winston's relationship with St. Paul's really makes an impact is that the church isn't looking to make the hall a huge part of our business operation, quote unquote. St. Paul's is a church. We focus on Sunday mornings and our outreach capacities, which I've already mentioned. What makes this great partnership is that Tiffany's not looking to make a boatload of money off of a couple. She's looking to do many impactful wedding experiences at a low cost. Right. Great value, low cost. St. Paul's and the church, that is also a message of the church. We're not trying to make money off of people that they can't make. We want to try to get our due share of, we have this 1890s building that, needs upkeep. It needs somebody to help us with restoring a new bathroom. We do need some things here, but we're not focused on that, $40,000, $60,000 wedding venue costs. We're not paying an entire staff to keep this building in pristine health. We actually have a beautiful opportunity that we're both in line and seeing a very similar vision. Her direction, my direction of getting there are on parallel train tracks.
Right.
Thank you, Father.
Yeah. And I think, that's a good place kind of to wind down a little bit. The thing I guess that Asaf and I would probably leave you with, Tiffany, is think about some of the things that you've said. Maybe write down who your various target audiences are. Those second time arounders who are getting married, those first time around, but they, like you said, they don't have the funds. There's a lot who are a little bit older who are getting married. But then there's others that are events that are not a matrimonial event. There's others. And then consider in there what those people need to hear from you as a message. And then that might help you settle. The Winston might be the right name because the Winston doesn't have a specific meaning behind it. But I do love the impactful weddings, impactful events.
Same.
I think there's something to be said for something like that.
It's very powerful. It is. And so we're going to end it off with my favorite question for everybody is, what is your spiciest client or just business story?
Oh my God, I feel like we're doing it right now. I feel like coming in here and, heading a renovation for this and really being able to contribute to the community the way that I want to is my favorite thing. I live here. I am raising kids here. I'm working here. I'm going to make sure that the community looks exactly the way that I want to. So I don't know if that's a spicy brand, sorry, but that is definitely what we're doing right now.
I think it certainly qualifies.
It qualifies.
And I just want to say for everyone, thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Father James. And for the Brand Telling Podcast, this is Arthur Germain.
And this is Asaf, the brand chef Bachman. And thank you both so much for coming on, and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the Brand Telling Podcast. If you have a story idea or would like to be a guest on the podcast, please send us an email at podcast@brandtelling.com.